Hello there, Gary here again. Going to talk to you about some of my experiences with life, just basically in general. Me and my wife have one we'd like to share with you. And this one comes to you all the way from an event that happened to us in New Hampshire. We were living in my mother-in-law's little cabin up in New Hampshire, dealing with the winters up there. Things get pretty cold, and the only way we had to heat the little log cabin, it wasn't really a log cabin, but it was a cabin nonetheless. The only way we had to heat this little cabin was with a little tiny wood stove. And if it was real cold out, the wood we didn't have a lot of kindling to start it with. It was hard to start, so I had this brilliant idea that I would use just a little bit of gasoline in there to get it to start. Probably not one of my brightest moments. My wife was very adamant about pointing that out to me right as she watched me go through the whole process of loading the wood stove, getting the gasoline, putting it in the wood stove, and now she's sitting in the table next to the wood stove, kind of away from it, but still about 8 feet from it. And I closed the door and I thought it'll be safer this way. Open up the vent, strike the match, go to put it right through the vent of the wood stove, and my wife goes, I would! Just then the wood stove ignites, and it doesn't go the nice little, which I was expecting it to do. It went, and I went, ah! The top of the wood stove launched. The flue pipe that went out the wall, the top of it come off, and it flew off like a bottle rocket. Apparently I used a little more gas in there than I thought I did, and the fumes just ignited the whole pipe. The pipe where it went through the wall, there was this concrete block around it. Before I ignited the gasoline, that was a solid piece. After I ignited the gasoline, that was 2 pieces. It had actually fractured that. The wood stove, I don't think itself moved. I think it was because it was just a cast iron wood stove and it sat in place, but it blew me across the room. Burned all the hair off my arm. I think it took 1.5 of the eyebrows off. I had a full beard and mustache at the time. That was like non-existent. Took off a lot of the hair. I'm smelling stuff, and she's sitting there at the table. Now, this all happened within just a couple of seconds, and she's sitting there at the table as I put that match in there, and the last words out of her mouth was, I would, and I went across the room. I sat there for a few seconds, and I looked up at her, and by that time my arm started to hurt. I was burnt pretty good. And I said, well, don't ask me if I'm okay. And she goes, well, you're an idiot. You dummy. Bet you won't do that again. She was right, I didn't. But right about the time she said, dummy, that's when we realized that we had launched the top of the wood stove, which had this one little cone thing on it. Notice I said had one of these little cone things on it because it was seriously deformed when we launched it. And a section of pipe. And when it finally decided to leave orbit and come back down, when she said, you dummy, is when it hit the roof and rolled off the side of the roof. It went pink, 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 pink. And I went, well, the stovepipe's back. That night, I was laying in bed. I had bandages. Well, not really bandages because we didn't have any. We were broke. I had a towel that we had soaked in snow and wrapped it around my arm and laid off the side of the bed all night going, oh, oh, and my sympathetic pregnant wife would go, shut up, I'm trying to sleep, you're the dummy that did it. Okay. But that was not the only, you're an idiot incident that we've ever had. Safe travels.